This is the Fun Belt Podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Hosts to Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howlraiser, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sun Belt.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating. It's
Guys, welcome back to another episode of Fun Belt Podcast. The gang is all here. Shane Metlin, you're here.
Mostly.
Yeah. Dusty Thibodeau, you're here.
some days.
I'm here. And we're going to discuss. Guy, it seems like it's gone by quick. Or maybe it seems it's gone by glacially slow. I can't figure it out. Maybe it's a mix of both. But we're at week 13. We have had 13 weeks now, or coming up. This next week will be 13 weeks of college football. That seems to be an incredible amount of football compressed in that amount of time. And somehow, guys, we have gotten through it. The three of us, me and you, together, dragging the Sun Belt ball and chain across space and time and letting the people know what's going on with the Sun Belt. And we should be commended for that. Congratulations, us. Huh?
I hope they don't cancel us on that, Jeremy.
They should. If we're the only three guys keeping this heroically small conference afloat, then we're going to be in a lot of trouble. All right, guys, listen. Let me tell you something about this week before we get into previewing the games. There is nothing settled in the Sun Belt right now. You would think with 2 games left on this docket, that at least one of the divisions would be settled. Like there'd be like Appalachian State would be so far ahead of the East that everybody was just sort of playing for second fiddle, right? Or that, I don't know, Texas State. If we talked about this earlier in the season, we would have thought this was happening. Texas State's already making plans to go to the college football playoffs. But none of that is happening, guys. Louisiana's on top, and they could have sealed the deal last week against South Alabama, the most inconsistent team ever in the Sun Belt. They lose to South Alabama, leaving the door cracked just enough for some guys to get in. You got Marshall, the Thundering Herd, out on the East, quietly winning 6 of their last 7 games, winning 4 in a row, leading the East. Still haven't sealed the East. There's some guys still on them, including a Week 14 game with James Madison that could decide it all. Oh my God, Shane Metlin even mentioned that there could be a 3-way tie in the Sun Belt. Holy, isn't that the entropy? Isn't that the entropy that we signed up for, Tibbs? Wasn't that what we wanted? Chaos!
Yeah, that's why it's the Fun Belt. There's 3 teams, 0% chance of advancing on. That being Georgia State, Troy, and Southern Miss. But I'll tell you, after last week, I think Troy's going to rain on some people's parades, and they better watch out.
Troy is the hottest team in the Sun Belt. Ever since coming out of the tunnel for the second half against Arkansas State, those guys have been on fire. They play defense. They play offense. They've won 2 straight. Troy, oh my God, where have you been all season? We have been waiting for you, and now you're here. A little too late, but maybe in time, I don't know, to make Troy fans excited for next year. But what we're excited about, guys, is Week 13, and I have a little invitation for you. Will you join me for Week 13 of Sun Belt Second and Short?
Nope.
What do you mean, nope? You're contractually obligated. Shane, you'll join me, right? You'll be
might as well.
Yeah.
I might as well.
Hop into this convertible. We're sailing right off the cliff. We got all the cops in Texas behind us. They're going to witness this. All right, are we ready?
Was that
Sun
supposed to be a reference?
Yes. Anyway. All right, you know how second and short works, Shane. I raise the specter of the games. I give a little bit of information. The Bet Online odds, for instance, the venue, the game time, the broadcast, and then we go a little bit back and forth, and we try to keep it under 2 minutes per game. We got a full slate, guys. There are no buys this week for the Sun Belt. We've got 7 games, 14 teams playing, a lot of business to attend to, a lot of possible bowl eligible games. We'll keep track of that too. So, guys, are you ready for second and short?
Eh.
Do it.
One day, man, I'm going to get that enthusiasm that I crave so much. Saturday, November 23rd, first game on the docket, and it's a good one. James Madison Dukes, they're 8-2. You would think at 8-2 they'd be in some sort of conversation for winning the Sun Belt, but right now they're looking up at some people. They're at Appalachian State, going to Boone. Boone's Boone. Appalachian State's 4-5. It's at 1:30. ESPN Plus. Dukes are a 7-point favorite in this game in Boone. Does that sound right to you, Shane Metlin?
I think it does. I think App State still has some question marks, I think, injury-wise. Obviously, Caden Robinson's a huge loss for them. Sounds possible, they may get their kicker back. They may get a couple tight ends to kind of help maybe put some more points on the board. But that's a big loss. Joey Aguilar's been inconsistent. He's thrown too many interceptions this year. JMU has been probably the best team in the country as far as picking passes off.
Ooh.
I think the line makes some sense. Obviously, 2 years of JMU in the Sun Belt, the App State games have kind of defied logic almost. Not necessarily the right way to say it, because those were games that could have gone either way, but upsets both games, I guess, is the best way to say it. Each team's gotten one on the other team's home field. So it's a big one. It's always going to be exciting when JMU and App State play, but I do think the line itself makes sense based on where both teams are at right now.
So Appalachian State, they need to win this game if they have any hope of seeing some postseason. They've got 4 wins. If they don't beat the Dukes, and that aspiration's over, they got to find some way to get past George Pettaway and that Dukes offense. The Mountaineers have a chance. Dusty Thibodeau.
They do, because it's in Boone. But
Yeah.
I still think that James Madison has shown that they're the more complete team in clicking on the right cylinders at the right time. Give me the Dukes, and especially with that 7 points, I think this is a 2, maybe 3 touchdown type of game that James Madison really uses it as a statement game, even though really kind of App State's down and not necessarily a true Dukes-Nears game.
Yeah, it doesn't have that same sort of significance and fire this time. But I tell you, if the Dukes want to stay within striking distance of the Sun Belt East, they got to win this game. If the Mountaineers want to go to a bowl game, they've got to win this game. So there's still stuff on the line. I kind of feel good about the Mountaineers. I don't know why. Maybe I've been waiting to feel good about them all year. I feel like maybe this is the time. Bowl eligibility alert, guys. ULM Warhawks, they're 5-5. At Arkansas State Red Wolves, they're 6-4. It's a 2 p.m. game. It's on ESPN Plus. The Bet Online odds are just 3 points for the Red Wolves. Let me tell you guys, Arkansas State has not lost to ULM in 14 tries. This will be the 15th time that ULM has tried to beat Arkansas State. I think it might be 2010 since the last time ULM has beaten Arkansas State. Tibbs, is ULM going to beat Arkansas State?
I mean, I thought that, 2 years, nobody will win 3 years. Nobody will win 5 years. Nobody will win 10 years. There's no way that they're going to beat them for 14 times in a row. So I'll stick to the Warhawks, but I'll tell you, they're beat up. They're definitely feeling the grind of the season. But that's all the more reason they've got to get this win to be eligible to go into the postseason. The Sun Belt already with 6 teams in the postseason are eligible for the postseason with only 5 guaranteed bowl slots. Conference USA on the struggle bus, so there will be some additional slots, but the Warhawks got to take part or do their part and get the wins going. Otherwise, they're going to be sitting at home by the end of November when the season's over.
Yeah, they're going to have to make that move. And here's the thing, Arkansas State, they beat teams they're supposed to beat, but they get humiliated by teams that are a level ahead of them. So I guess we're going to see where ULM is on that spectrum. So, Shane, is there any chance that the Warhawks, they've lost 4 straight? Is there any chance that they shake off this malaise and they do it against an Arkansas State Red Wolves team that they haven't beaten in 14 tries?
There's a chance because I think, we've seen what ULM can do. I am losing a little bit of confidence in them because, as Tibbs has pointed out, they're beat up. It was tough to put together a team that had a lot of depth with the massive turnaround they had to do. And I think, just the season's wearing on them a little bit. I thought they were a lock to make a bowl game about a month ago. And at this point, I'm not sure they're going to get there. It doesn't take away from what they've done this season, but
No.
I don't necessarily see them winning this one, in part because of what you said. Arkansas State doesn't lose games. They get blown out. And I don't see, or they win.
Yeah.
They don't lose close games. And I don't see ULM really winning a close one or, blowing Arkansas State out. They've got to win close games. And that's a half joking there. But yeah, I just think Arkansas State, though they've been a little inconsistent, they've got more going for them right now going into this one.
Shane, you are reigning truth. Here's what I say. Nobody beats the Warhawks 15 straight times, except Arkansas State. So that's my final analysis. Bowl eligibility alert. South Alabama Jaguars, 5-5. They're up against Southern Miss Golden Eagles. They're 1-9. Oh my God. It's a 2 p.m. start on ESPN Plus. The Jags are a 22.5-point bet online favorite. I have nothing good to say about Southern Miss. I just don't think they have anything going for them right now. Meanwhile, a lot of good things going for South Alabama. Most inconsistent team ever in the Sun Belt. We never know what they're going to do. They're going to lose to a team one day. They're going to win to a team against a team they weren't supposed to beat in the next week. You just never know. Tibbs, how's this game going to go? And I think we know.
I mean, I think it's a safe, easy option to say, oh, yeah, South Alabama runs away with this. But these are the type of games, especially in the Sun Belt, where Southern Miss with nothing to play for, South Alabama, everything to play for, that the Eagles win this game.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens this time, but these are the type of games that we definitely see as kind of those trap games. I think South Alabama rolls. I think that they are able to get win number 6 and get Major Applewhite into the postseason as the head coach of the Jaguars.
That would be a good storyline. 22.5 points. Is that too many points, Shane?
It's a lot of points, but I don't know. I think if you're South Alabama's director of operations, you can go ahead and start maybe looking at the bowl slate and the tie-ins, maybe trying to make some guesses, looking for hotels and stuff, because South Alabama is going to be bowl eligible after this week. They're not going to lose this one. No. Southern Miss, they got their little bit of a boost. They played okay right after making the coaching change, but the season's done for them. It's all about getting ready for next year.
The only quarterback in the Sun Belt with more passing yards than the Jaguars, Gio Lopez, is Joey Aguilar. So Lopez, having a pretty good season. Probably add to those numbers against that sad Golden Eagles defense. Bowl eligibility alert. Georgia Southern Eagles, they're 6-4. They're already in a bowl game. At Coastal Carolina, they're 5-5. Started the season 3-0, guys. That's a 2:30 p.m. kickoff time on ESPN Plus. And the Chants, maybe because they are looking for that bowl eligibility, are a 2-point favorite. Shane, are the Chants going to close escrow on this game against a tough Eagles team?
I think they might, but I mean, it's really hard to predict either one of these teams, honestly.
Yes.
Georgia Southern seems to be maybe a little bit of a different team when they leave Paulson. Coastal, you never know what you're going to get week to week. But, if they get a solid showing from Ethan Vasco, I think they have a really good shot to win this one. And then that really shakes up the East division too, because Georgia Southern owns those tiebreakers over both JMU and Marshall. If Georgia Southern loses one, it really opens the door for one of JMU and Marshall to win the division. And there's going to be some scoreboard watching for this one, in the mountains.
More entropy. I love it. So you got this Eagles team. They beat James Madison. That was a big win. They lose to Old Dominion. They beat South Alabama, and then they lose to Troy. We just, the Eagles in a way have become South Alabama. Are you going to be watching this game with any kind of interest, Dusty Thibodeau?
I will maybe have it on, but I will be more interested in what's going on in your neck of the woods there, Jeremy.
You invested in
the rumors on the X, where there's smoke, there's fire. I think maybe there's a little bit of trouble in the creek. And I think that especially with them being on the road, Coastal Carolina has everything to play for to get bowl eligibility, as you said, to get win number 6. I think that all the chaos going on with the Eagles and Coastal being at home is the real difference. That Tim Beck is able to get another picture flexing on the beach with the dance team and the chicken.
Yes. Underrated quarterback battle, JC French versus Ethan Vasco. I think that'll be a pretty good thing. There's really not a single data point that signals a victory for either team. Just flip a coin. Just flip a coin and whoever wins, wins. Troy Trojans, guys, the hottest team in the Sun Belt. A team that, until a couple weeks ago, had only won one game. Now they've won 2 in a row. They take on the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Kind of stunned by South Alabama this week. They play at 4 p.m., ESPN Plus. The Cajuns are, according to Bet Online, an 11-point favorite, and probably for good reason. They just play good football, but they've lost Ben Woodridge. Dusty Thibodeau, is that going to matter?
Probably not. I think that we saw that Chandler Fields is just as good and ready to be that next man up. I still like the Cajuns. I think that they are still one of the most complete teams in all of college football, and especially in the Sun Belt. I like for them to kind of wrap up the West against Troy this weekend.
All right, that could very well be. But you know what? Troy has kind of found their own kind of magic at quarterback. They started off with Goose Crowder. He had, maybe moments of failure and success. Now they got junior quarterback Matthew Caldwell calling plays in the huddle. He's had 7 touchdowns in the last 2 games, both on in a combination of with his arms and with his legs. Are the Trojans the one gifting the horse, Shane Metlin?
Gifting okay, now I get it. Yeah.
Go back to your junior high readings.
Yeah. I was thinking a completely different metaphor there, but I sort of with Tibbs, I think Louisiana, you're going to your backup quarterback, but you're going to a very experienced backup quarterback, and you've had the week to make the proper adjustments for how you're going to change up the playbook and the play calling a little bit, maybe with the change. So I like Louisiana there to not take a huge step back, as opposed to, when you make the change mid-game because of an injury, that's a tougher situation. But part of me, though, is really rooting for Troy, just because. Let's do the 3-way tie thing in both divisions. Let's get as crazy as possible. But no, I do think Louisiana is probably going to wrap it up this week.
All right, we thought that last week though, but here we are. All right, that's going to be a good game. That's going to be a good game that a lot of people will be watching for the outcome. Georgia State Panthers, perhaps the best 2-win team in the Group of 5. They take on the Texas State Bobcats. They're 6-4. They've got their bowl game wrapped up. Still have an outside shot of squeaking into the Sun Belt West, just like a couple other teams. 6 p.m. start, ESPN Plus. The Bobs, guys, are a 20-point favorite. But here's what we know about the Panthers. Rarely are they blown out. It's a lot of one-score, single-digit losses for those Panthers. Tibbs, are the Panthers going to get blown out by the Bobcats?
No chance that happens 2 weeks in a row for the Bobcats as they did last week against Southern Miss. I do like the Bobcats to win, but the Panthers are going to definitely make them earn the game. They're going to sweat it out. I think, we're going to see a big running attack there out of the Bobcats again with their stable of running backs, but they still get it done on the scoreboard.
McGee is doing a really good job. I think we can all agree with the Panthers. I really like Ted Hurst. He's a great pass catcher, but they don't have a bunch of Ted Hursts out there, Shane Metlin. Do the Panthers have a chance to surprise the Bobcats at least?
Always a chance, but Jordan McLeod, healthy, not playing in the driving rain last week, put up huge numbers. Was the Jordan McLeod like we've seen basically at his best? Expect him to have another pretty big game against Georgia State. Like that line is huge, but I do think Texas State can win this one pretty comfortably. It's a long trip for Georgia State. Those cross division road games are always tough. So I don't know if we're talking multiple touchdowns, but I think we're talking a couple scores for Texas State.
Yeah, that's a good point about the long distance between Atlanta and San Marcos. It's always a long trip to go to San Marcos, no matter where you're coming from. So, yeah, it's going to be the Bobcats. All right, last game of the night, guys. I feel like we've blown through this, and I like it. We've become efficient. It's taken us 13 weeks, but we've become efficient here. Marshall Thundering Herd, winner of 4 straight, currently atop the Sun Belt East standings. They're 7-3. They take on the Old Dominion Monarchs. They're playing at ODU's home turf. ODU 4-4. It's at 6:30 p.m. on ESPNU. Oh, one of the big boys hosting the game. Herd a 2-point favorite as the visiting team, but we know that no one is tougher than Old Dominion when they're at home, when things are weird, and things are absolutely weird in the Sun Belt East, where it's even tighter than the West, where we keep talking about how things are kind of wacky in the West. It's even a bigger shootout in the East. So I will ask you this, Shane Metlin. Is this game going to be a classic? Should we get to ESPNU right away at 6:30 to watch this game go down?
I think it's going to be competitive. I think night games at ODU, there's a good energy there. They've got cool lights. They do some fun things. Like,
okay.
They do get pretty good crowds. They do really kind of bring it at night in Norfolk.
Ooh.
But we talked about it before. Marshall's getting it together. Marshall's hot. We don't talk enough about the games that Marshall has won to get to where they are. I think they're going to win this one, but I do think it could be similar to what we saw in Norfolk last week. I could be one of those ones that comes down right to the wire.
So if the Monarchs want to see a postseason, it's kind of like the same boat that Appalachian State is in. They got to get through the Thundering Herd first. So that is a big reason for Old Dominion to play hard in this game. Yes, the Thundering Herd, they're trying to defend their turf on top of the Sun Belt East. Old Dominion, though, probably has just as much to play for. What do you think? Do you think that's enough for the Monarchs to win, Dusty Thibodeau?
I'm not sure Tibbs is still with us.
Did we lose Tibbs?
We might have.
Oh. Well. I was so deep into my notes. I didn't even know Tibbs had vanished. It looks like he's trying to come back on, though.
I would imagine he is.
Maybe the stress of second and short was too much for Thibodeau.
Tibbs has to come back on or this show is not going to download correctly.
That's right. If he lost, we'd have to do the whole thing again. Tibbs, welcome back. You're just in time to weigh in on the Monarchs versus the Thundering Herd.
Well, I mean, of course, we're going to get weird with that. I mean, that's why I disappeared. I was trying to be weird there for you there, Jeremy. I like the Monarchs to end the Herd's streak, and that's the way it is. I like the freshman quarterback We, of course, love Ricky Ronnie. Sure, we love some Puff Shuffle and Tudor's Biscuits, but, I think the Monarchs showed what they were capable of doing last week against James Madison, and it carries over this week with a good old yell across the field to tell Huff he loves him.
That's awesome. Hey, Tibbs, you sound a little warbled there. Are you plugged in?
Who knows?
You might, I don't know. You might want to dust off the old nipple there. I don't know what's wrong there. But all right. Congratulations, guys. We did it. That's the end of week 13, second and short. And you guys came through with flying colors. Tibbs had some technical difficulty, and he rebounded. He didn't give it up. He didn't throw in the towel. He said, I'm going to come back. And I'm going to deliver the heat for Monarchs versus Thunder and Herd. So thanks, guys. Well done. Which makes it to where we can go straight into, was it punts, promos, and parting shots? No. It's promos, parting shots, and what?
Good enough.
Something.
Tibbs, why don't you give us one?
I just want to tell you about the DNR Online and how the Pulitzer Prize winning Shane Metten is the star author. Shane, I appreciated last week when I was at the Rice game where they were hosting ULM. Most places have banners of their NCAA tournaments in the rafters. No, they have their Pulitzer Prize winner, and I immediately was looking for your name there, Shane.
Oh, wow.
But Larry McMurtry was up there. He's a hell of a writer.
I'm too much of a redneck to know what that means.
Well, he writes kind of redneck stuff. You should probably check him out. Yeah.
Okay. His son, James McMurtry, is a hell of a singer-songwriter.
Ooh.
So check him out.
Man, Shane has his fingers on the pulse of the Pulitzer Prize winning writers.
Yeah.
He's killing it.
What you got, Shane?
What do you have?
Speaking of Pulitzer Prize winning writers, unlike myself, I was going to talk a little bit about, social media.
Oh,
the three of us, we interact quite a bit on Twitter, whether it be talking about silly stuff like the banners at Rice or DMing each other just to figure out when we're going to record this silly show. I do have to say, have you guys noticed changes here recently when it comes to Twitter? I don't know. Do you get as much interaction? Are you getting clicks and likes and everything else from when you post your stuff or try to interact with fans? I've seen a huge drop.
Me too.
Yeah.
In my stuff. I don't like it because I don't have insanely strong feelings about Elon Musk one way or the other.
Yeah.
But I'm not happy with what's going on with Twitter or X or whatever right now, because I used to be able to just count on people seeing the stuff that I write and tweet the links, and sometimes people even clicked on it, and it's not happening right now, and I'm a little frustrated. I know a lot of people are moving to Bluesky or whatever the other one is, but don't really even have a point. I just wish, if you're on, I'm actually just asking for help. If you're on,
begging for RTs,
see my stuff, retweet it so more people see it, because I need the help. I'm not getting it, and the clicks are important to us.
Shane, I agree. In fact, I was looking at how Razor readership relies really heavily on Twitter traffic. And a couple of years ago, I was seeing just steady growth every year. And it is really flatlined the last couple of years. I thought, well, maybe that's because Arkansas State's not doing as well and there's not much interest. I don't think that's what it is. There is something going on with the algorithm. Maybe it's because I'm not a paid member of Twitter or whatever it is anymore, but I am not receiving the same returns as I used to get on Twitter too. I have moved some of my stuff to Blue Sky, which I don't know if they'll take off as much as X or Twitter or whatever we call it now. But yeah, I have noticed the same drop off, Shane
Even
Metlin.
the last just couple weeks, not to get political, but since the election, really, it's been a huge drop off.
It's been a little nutty. It's been a little nutty.
And I did an experiment too. I tweeted out two things within minutes of each other with the same information. One of them had a link to my story. The other one, I put a QR code that you
And
can still get to the story. Basically the same post.
wow.
The one without the link has been viewed by twice as many people. So I think they're not putting the links out there if you have a link in your post, which if you're a writer, that's tough.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Trying to, like,
I'll-
tweet out some non-offensive sports stuff. It's tough out there.
My parting shot has something a little dude that kind of not necessarily that, but the written word for Hellraiser. It's a mea culpa to my alma mater, alma mater. Yeah, Arkansas State. 2 years ago, I published a story, and the headline was Arkansas State isn't good at anything. And the visual was a trash can with the Arkansas State logo on it. And at the time, Arkansas State had just lost to UCA to basketball in humiliating fashion. And I wrote this kind of long, pissed off story about how A-State was no longer good at any sport. They weren't good at volleyball, women's basketball, men's basketball, football, baseball, all the major sports. They were no longer good at any of them. Fast forward 2 years later, Arkansas State wins the volleyball regular season. Basketball looks up. Football's going to his second straight bowl game. Baseball's getting renovations at last. May not be ever be a powerhouse, but at least they're trying. So things are going well now at Arkansas State. Yes, the college landscape has changed and may never, ever get to the point where we can compete with some of the big boys. But yes, at least Arkansas State fans have something to be proud of. I take it all back. Arkansas State athletics is good at stuff. And that's it. My apologies. I take it all back.
Yeah, take it back, Jeremy.
just a cold end.